Hi guys, how you doing? Well, I'm doing okay. I'm outside. I'm outside again as that room is being used again. So I'm just coming out here to so I don't bother anybody. It's not as hot today as it was yesterday. Um, there's not much of a breeze, but at least it's not as hot. It's probably down about maybe 5 or 10 degrees cooler, so it's more comfortable today. I like to continue what I was talking about with um, my dad and Regent Sound Studios. Now, before I can continue, um, there's so much that I had forgotten that I felt I needed to mention before we proceed any further. Um, for my dad, he never really cared much for awards. Okay, all he cared about was the work he did and making sure that it was the best that it could possibly be. That was all my dad cared about. And my dad won 1 Emmy and 3 Grammy Awards, and in his career. And I remember when he was awarded these awards, that it was like, bring it home. And he's like, you can put it anywhere you want to, I don't care. And so I remember seeing one on top of the projection TV unit that he had bought. And so I remember seeing it sitting on top of the TV unit. I don't remember if it was, I think it could have been the Emmy. I think it was the Emmy. Because the Grammys, because I think the Grammy Awards were framed. You need a muffler, sir. Did you hear me? No. If you didn't hear me, how could you respond? I don't know. I love that. Can you hear me? No. Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me. Okay. Yeah. I think the Grammys were framed that hung on the wall, but the Emmy Award was a statue, I think, that sat on the TV. But he wasn't big on that. It was like, okay, I appreciate it, but, he didn't care much for fame in that regard. All he cared about was producing the best that he could do. And basically that's what he instilled in me. He said to me when I came to, because when I worked at Regent, the clients wanted everything yesterday. And that was one of the reasons why I hated New York. I hated New York. I hated the attitude. I hated, that way of thinking. That the client wants it yesterday. And every client wants it yesterday. And I'm loaded with all this work to do, and every one of them wants it yesterday. And, I hated that. So Dad would tell me, don't worry about how fast or how quickly you do the job. You do the job the best way you know how. Don't care about how long it takes. All you care about is the quality of your work. That's all you focus on. Do your best. And focus on doing your best. That's all that's important. Do your best. Don't worry about how quickly it takes you. And that was advice I took to heart when I would later work for as a bank teller at Village Bank. Now, when I was much younger, Dad's favorite nickname for me was Butch. And I grew up with Dad, and every time my dad would call me Butch, it was always with affection. And I knew that as a kid. I knew that every time Dad called me Butch, it was said with love and affection and adoration, you know. And thinking about the word Butch now, it almost loses its meaning to me. But that's what he used to call me. Even though I never felt like a butch, whatever a butch was. Maybe I thought butch was close to the word butcher. I don't know. I said, well, I'm not a butcher. I don't like to butcher anything. You know, I don't know what my thinking was, but I knew that butch was spoken with love. Now, when Dad got sick with cancer, we reconnected because, you know, I mentioned how we got very close. We bonded. We bonded like father and son bond. And it was something that was lost over the years because when I was younger, we did things together as father and son, mostly on the weekends. And I remember every Saturday, we used to go to Friendly's ice cream restaurant, and we would sit at the counter, and Dad would order what he wanted. I always had my burger, fries, and I don't know, maybe ice cream or cake for dessert. And oh my God, that's right. I had, and I'm gonna see if I can get this again, a ketchup dispenser. And when I was in Pennsylvania, I knew somebody who sold diner stuff, like a ketchup and mustard dispensers. And I don't know how he showed it to me, but when I saw it, I said, oh, can you get me one? Can you get me one? I want it. Because this ketchup dispenser was exactly the same ketchup dispenser that I used at Friendly's. And every time, so when I saw it, it brought back those wonderful memories that Dad and I would sit together at Friendly's and have lunch. Those were wonderful memories, and I'm going to see if I can get another one again. That was perfect, because that was exactly the dispenser that Friendly's used. So I'm going to see if I can find another dispenser like it. And then we stopped going to Friendly's because Dad did not like the service. Apparently the service was bad, it was slow, you know, and I guess Dad didn't like the service at Friendly's. So we then had our Saturday lunch at a kosher deli, Liftin's, which I never forgot because that was so close to our name, you know. Liftin's Kosher Deli. It was on North Avenue in Wackekill, Newark Trail. And so we go there. Now, because this is a kosher deli, I could not have a cheeseburger, but I really didn't start eating cheeseburgers until I was young, a little older. Younger. No, older. Okay. And so we would go to Liftin's Kosher Deli, and I would get a matzo ball soup and a burger and fries. I think Dad got corned beef sandwich or some beef sandwich or whatever. So we'd have our lunch, and then we would do our shopping. We would go to Macy's together. Whatever the errand was, we went together. We went to Huguenot Street in downtown New Rochelle. We went into Frank's Music Shop, and on the corner of the block was a typewriter store, and we would go in there, and what was so cool was you could choose the font for the typewriter. So you could select whatever keys, the hammers. Okay, the keys were the same, but you could customize your typewriter to have the hammers that had the font that you liked. And I selected the font that was used at Camp Emerson because it was at Camp Emerson that they produced or printed stuff that I created. And I contributed to every week Emersonian, I guess, or the Emerson Gazette, and everybody, people would write, people would put pictures. I did find a word puzzles, and I'd come up with all kinds of things, and I report on some things. So I was always being printed up there. And at the end of the summer, the staff that put out the camp newspaper, or Camp Gazette, whatever, would thank me for my contributions. That they gave a shout out to me. We want to thank Jimmy Liftin for his continuous contributions, or whatever they said. So when I looked at all the fonts and I saw the same exact font that Camp Emerson used, I said, I want that. I want that because I wanted everything to look exactly the way Camp Emerson, did their weekly gazettes, And later on, as time went on, it wasn't so special anymore, But we'd go all over the place, and we'd do shopping together as father and son, and that was Saturday. And on Sunday, we would explore because Dad knew that I loved exploring. So that was a special dad and son time that we had. And so every Sunday, Dad would say, okay, where do you want to explore today? Where do you want to explore this week? Butch, Jimmy, wherever you want to explore, we'll go, And when I mean explore, I would pick a street. Okay. Any street in northern New Rochelle. And I'd say, you know what? I would love to go on this street and see where it leads. So, and that was, and I want to sort of do the same thing now with Fort Wayne. I want to do videos of every street that's in Fort Wayne, from the beginning, from each end, from end to end. I would start filming at one end of the street, and I'd keep shooting it and go all the way to the end. And this is reflective of what I loved doing when I was a kid, which was exploring. Exploring where streets go to. Oh, that's nice air conditioning. Yeah. So that's what we did. Okay. Now, Dad gave me his film collection, his Silence, and the Keystone projector that he had. And I'll tell you something about that projector. It made a racket when it ran. It smelled up the room. The light bulb was dim, and then Dad bought me for Hanukkah, 1974, a used sound projector, which was a monster. The projector was in a sort of like in a box with a little window that you open, when you're ready to project. But problem was that every time you turn the lamp on, the projector would slow down to a stop, and of course you'd burn the film. So that wasn't working very well, and so Dad then bought me a fairly used Graflex 16 projector, which I had for 5 years. And of course Dad got me some Abbott Costello. He got me some Mr. Magoo cartoons. He got me a couple of Roots of American Airlines travelogues. He got me Detroit and San Simeon. Detroit was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it. San Simeon was boring as hell, you know. He gave me commercials. I guess that he did. And these are the first commercials I ever had. Fanny hose, you know, a lot of commercials that he did. And so then, okay, while Dad was at 25 West 56th Street, one day we went up to another floor. I think this was the 7th floor or so. And this was an empty floor. There was no tenant there. There were no walls. The elevator doors open, and it looks like you're walking into a warehouse. Okay, there was no walls. You saw the whole floor of the building itself, corner to corner, edge to edge. So you really could see just how big a building this was by going onto this floor. And because when you have a studio, you really don't know just how big the floor actually is, you know. So this was huge. And so I don't remember why he took me there, but I will tell you something that was rather interesting about me being up there. Okay, somewhere in there was a mimeograph machine, the same kind of mimeograph machine that schools used to use, and when they're cranking out copies, and the copies would be blue or purple, and they'd have this fragrance when you put the paper to you, and you smell the paper, and you're actually smelling the ink from the mimeograph machine. But also was a big, huge pile of portable movie screens. Yep. It was sort of all laying on top of each other, almost like a junk pile, you know. And so while Dad was busy doing what he was doing, I was busy too. I would go through the movie screens and see if I could find a movie screen that was still in good shape. And there was at least a few dozen laying there. And I would go through each one, and since the floor is practically empty, I was able to go through the pile, look at each one. Nah, this screen is torn. This is a broken hook. This has a broken latch. The legs are jammed. You know, okay, and I would put the movie screen in another pile. Okay, and I started another pile. I said, okay, this is the junk pile. Now, had I known that you could recycle metal, you know, metal? Yeah, I think you could recycle metal. Hell, we could take that down and get lots of money for recycling, but this was way in the 70s, I think. And so I went through the pile, and in that pile of about a few dozen movie screens, I found two movie screens that were in good condition. And I took those movie screens home. here I was acquiring 2 movie screens for free, for nothing. Didn't pay a dime for them. I just pulled them off the junk pile and brought them home. So now I had 2 movie screens, one that I would use and one that I would keep as a spare, because they're both in good condition. And I said, man, I did a killing with this. I got 2 movie screens free of charge. Didn't have to pay anything for it. Didn't have to buy them. Didn't have to go anywhere. 2 free movie screens. Now they're both gone. But I'll never forget that day. Now, in 1974, okay, Dad he was doing Aretha Franklin concerts. I believe it was in California. I'm thinking that my dad, somebody contacted him and they asked him to do the sound for Aretha Franklin. But let me go back a little further. In 1967, okay, we went to Canada as a family. It was an expo, 1967 in Canada, Montreal. Now, it was there that I saw my very first do not pass sign. And because you're fine. Nice breeze. Oh, it feels nice in here. My very first do not pass sign, because in New York, we never had do not pass signs. So this is the very first do not pass sign that I ever saw. So I never understood what the sign was for, what it meant. So I was in the car and we passed the do not pass sign. And I said, Dad, do you realize what you did? You just passed that do not pass sign. You're not supposed to pass. You're not supposed to pass the sign. And Dad said to me, Butch, that's not what it means. Do not pass sign does not mean do not pass the sign. He told me what it meant, but I was too young to understand. But of course now I understand, but back then. Now, at this expo, Dad was doing a sound for a show that included Soupy Sales. And we were in the audience, and it was like a circular stage. And the audience was like all the way around the stage. All the way around. And so we sat at the front. Now, this stayed in my mind all my life. And I only remember it vaguely, but it stayed with me. And during Soupy Sales' show, he walked up to us and said hello to us. So, I think my dad knew Soupy Sales, or he was just working closely with him for this concert, this comic concert he was doing in Montreal. So that was basically that. And so we went to California. This was my first time flying in an airplane. I never flew in a plane before. Oh, at seaplane, sure. But I never flew in one. So this was like my very first time. Okay. And so we go to California. We fly there on a 747. And 747 is like my all-time favorite plane. Okay. And I grew up with the antennas at the wingtips. Now they got this little thing that sticks up on the 747s. But to me, that's like 747 2.0 as far as I'm concerned. That is not the original 747. This is 747 2.0. You know, the original 747 did not have this goofy little thing that stuck up, which I understood listening to a pilot what that was for. But still, it looks goofy. Okay. The 747 was very dignified with antennas at the wingtip. And when you saw that antenna at the wingtip, man, that was very handsome and dignified. Instead of this goofy little thing that sticks up, you know, like a paper airplane or something. So anyway, loved flying at that point. So we go to Los Angeles, 1974, and I went with Dad while he did his errands. And one place we stopped at was MGM Studios, and it was there at MGM Studios that they gave me a shirt with the MGM Lion logo, which of course wouldn't fit me now, you know. And of course that is long gone with everything else that was in storage. And then the next place we went to was Chelsea Records. So we go to Chelsea Records, and Dad went in to speak to I guess one of the people there. I sat in the waiting room, and then he and Dad come out, and the guy walks up to me, and my dad introduces me to him, and then the guy says to me, "Well, nice to meet you, Jimmy. We just finished recording a track, and before we release it, I want you to listen to it because you are the audience that we are reaching. Your demographic, your age. You kids will be the kids that would buy this record. And I want to know your opinion on this recording because you are who we're gearing towards. So if there's any change that you feel would make more of your friends and kids your age buy the record, tell us and we'll do it." So I thought, whoa, oh my God, this big record person, you know, is asking me, a little nobody kid, a major decision like whether a record needs to be tweaked or improved upon or whatever. I was just floored. I was like, oh my God. I said, sure. I didn't think there was anything. What can I say? What can I, you know? But the guy was very nice, and so I followed him into the inner office, and there were two speakers right above the desk. And he plays the track. And I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I was liking it, and I'm bopping with the music and the beat and everything. And so when the song was over, he turns it off, looks to me, and he says, "Well, Jimmy, is there anything that we need to do with this song so that it will appeal to your friends and kids your age?" And I said, no. That's great. I like it. I like that song a lot. I love it. You don't have to do a thing to that song. You don't have to add anything. You don't have to subtract anything. You don't have to do anything. That song is perfect exactly the way it is. And the guy was very thankful. He said, "Thank you very much, Jimmy. I appreciate your input." And shook my hand. Dad and I left. Well, it turned out that song peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. And when I would hear the song on the radio, I would just get a chill down my back. It's like, oh my God, this is exactly what I heard in his office. And they did what I said. They didn't do a thing to the song. They released it exactly the way I heard it. And it was perfect just the way it is. And it sold 1 million copies. And it peaked at number 10 on the Hot 100. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link to that song right in the description of this video. So you can click a link. You can click on it and you can listen to the song that I listened to at Excelsior Records, okay, that I said don't need to change a thing. I love it, and kids my age will love it too. And sure enough, they did, because they bought 1 million copies of it, and it peaked at number 10. So then, while we were in Los Angeles, he was doing the Aretha Franklin concerts, and during the concert, they had 2 comedy acts. One was the comedian who, Wallace, I think his name was. I forget his first name. Billy Wallace, maybe? I don't remember. But what I do remember was the other comedy thing, which was a ventriloquist act. Aaron Williams and Freddie. Okay. And they were black, and the dummy was black, and so his catchphrase was, "I ain't lying," and that was the catchphrase, And there was one, and so I loved it. I was laughing. My mom and I were sitting in the audience, and I was laughing to both of them. And so I go over to my dad, who was sitting in the booth, and I said, "Dad," "this was a funny act. Are they coming back again?" And Dad said that he was, and they were. And I said, "Can you do me a favor? I want to have a copy of those. Can you record both comedy bits for me? Because I think if they're hysterical, I love it." So Dad did just that. He made a recording of both the comedian and the ventriloquist for me, and I took it home and listened to it, and so much that I remembered some of the routine from Aaron and Freddie. Freddie, there's something I want to say. You've been saying a lie about me. What did I say about you? He said, "You've been telling people that I was eating out of garbage cans." Who, me? Yeah. Oh, I never lie. Okay. I ain't said nothing like that. Okay, good. Now all I said was, so you in the alley. I saw the garbage can. I saw your feet. But I didn't see your head, baby. Okay. Now you take it the way you want to take it, you understand? All right. Because I ain't never lying on you. So that was a little bit that they did that I'll never forget. So they were very, very funny. So we were done in Los Angeles. We stayed at a Holiday Inn. Then we flew to San Francisco. Stayed at a Holiday Inn there while Dad was doing Aretha Franklin up there. And then we went. Now Dad's work was done, and now we could have a vacation. We were in California. We could have fun now, as a family. So we drove down. We stopped at Big Sur for lunch, and oh my God, the whole damn restaurant was like at the edge of a cliff. I would look out the window, and I would almost get dizzy. I said, oh my God, I don't have fear of heights, but damn, I don't like that, And you had all this big, long bunch of steps. to get to the restaurant, which wasn't too bad because it was easy leaving, going down, you know. So we drive all the way down from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And by the time we arrived in Los Angeles, it was about 7 o'clock. And Dad had made a reservation at a very expensive hotel. I think it was in Beverly Hills, but I don't remember for sure. And it was in this hotel, in the restaurant there, that I had New England clam chowder for the very first time. And it was delicious. That was my first time with New England clam chowder. And so, while we were in California, in Los Angeles, we went to Disneyland or Disney World. I forget which one's out in California. But we went there. But the biggest thrill was going to Universal Studios. And we go to Universal Studios and went on the tour. And then we went to see an episode of Adam 12 being filmed. And so we're sitting in the audience along with everybody else. And then somebody called up to us and said, we need some extras for this scene. Who would like to appear in an episode of Adam 12? And it was so many people got up. You know, they said, come on down, everybody. Everybody who wants to be in this episode as an extra, because we need extras. And I was so scared. You need a muffler, sir. So I was so scared. I had stage fright. And I said, I can't do it. You know, my dad was like, come on, Jimmy, come on, Butch, we'll go together. I said, no, I'm too shy. I'm too shy to go down there. I'm scared. No, no, thank you, Dad. So we stayed up there, and we watched them shoot a scene. And there was even a place for the mock car cruiser, where, you know, they would sit and you had the projection screen all around it, and the camera would be placed there. And when it was all done and everybody got back into their seats, the guy said, now everybody who is in this episode, you each get a 16 millimeter copy of your appearance in this episode. I was like, oh my God. Boy, did I screw that up. And I thought that was a golden opportunity that I screwed up. You know, but back in 1974, I did not have the sound projector yet. I still had Dad's projector in the summer of 1974. But I didn't have a sound projector yet. But it was still 16 millimeter. And who knows what the future could bring, you know. So that was it. That was our time in California. And then we came home. So I think that covers about everything that I forgot to talk about in previous episodes, previous videos about my dad and
Regent.
Hi, and the times that we had. Oh, one other thing, before I forget. Remember I said some while back that there was rejects of lathe discs that Dad cut for the clients, and these were rejects because there might have been a false start because the records weren't perfect. So there might have been a false start, and then they had to recut it. And I said, no, we can't give this to the client. So they put on a table. And so Dad would bring them home. And there were 5 songs. 5 songs. And one of them sounded like a R&B artist sitting at a piano. And he would sing. I never knew what the name was or who he was. But I'll never forget the song. Some warm July when snowflakes fly, only then will you and I say goodbye. And when June forgets to follow May, that will be the day I start forgetting you. When birds don't fly, all others cry. This much I know, nothing lasts forever. Whatever's new someday must grow old. This much I know, I need you. And that's as much as I remember from the song. Never knew who sung it, who the title was. Then there was another song. Oh, the lady's in love, and that's all right with me. Bam, bam, bam. He's walking around as if it's April spring. Ba-da-ba-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. And she bought another dress today. She's expecting me to pay. But I will agree just any old way. Ladies in love. Bum, 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 boom. And if you might get her down, you know, so it was like that. Then the other 3, one was Let Your Love Shine. And didn't know who sang it. And it was years later that I learned. Now, I will include that also in a link in the description below of that song. But even though it isn't the version that I heard, okay, but Al Cooper was the songwriter, and he sang this on his album. Okay, so I'll include that as a link in the description below. So this is the song, even though this is not the artist that I heard. Okay. Then the other one, then another one sounds like it was the same artist that sang, oh God, I found it now. Let Your Love Shine. Okay. Sound like the same group. And it went with, I know her secrets, and I know her thoughts. You don't know nothing, but your laughs last long. You can't keep a girl, you can't keep woman satisfied, something like that. Then there was another song that I found like years later, and I will include a link to that song down below in the description. And that is like the quintessential Jimmy Liftin song. Jim Liftin song. This was my song. Okay. Now, okay. And the last thing that I want to mention, you know what? I don't think I have much time to even mention the last thing, but I will when I continue with the next video. So I know I promised you I'd get into that amazing thing that happened to my dad during the cancer years that boosted up his morale in this video, but there was so much that I've forgotten that I want to get it in here. Okay, so anyway, thank you for watching, thanks for listening, and I will be back with the next the continuation. Okay, I'll see you later. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.